Hello, this is Martin Brossman, KI4CFS, and
This is Mike Wills, WX0MIK.
Mike, I want to talk about Skywarn because I learned about that early when I got into amateur radio. I joined, I think it's about 2003, 4, and I found this world of volunteer good citizens filling in the gaps and backing up the weather system called
Mhm.
Skywarn. So tell them about what is Skywarn and how would you describe it?
Well, there's kind of almost two forms of Skywarn, if you will. The first form is just really volunteers out. I don't want to call it storm chasing because they don't always storm chase. A lot of times they're just storm spotting. It means they're kind of in one spot, or they might move a couple spots, but they're not out there like the old Discovery Channel show where they're actually chasing and trying to hit the tornadoes. They're just out there, and what the National Weather Service calls it is ground truth. We can look at a radar and we can think there's some rotation, might be a tornado. Sometimes they'll call warnings on that, but it's the people on the ground that can say, "Yep, that's a tornado." Radar doesn't cover underneath the clouds, which humans can see. So first form is really just that. The second form includes amateur radio into that. So now, potentially, instead of us calling directly to National Weather Service, we're checking into a net, and the net control is actually talking to National Weather Service. We're just out there focusing more so on the spotting and communicating through radio rather than trying to find the number or reporting it through the various other channels you have for reporting. It's a little bit easier, and especially if you get some good net controls like we do in our local area, I feel really safe out there because he's out there and he is saying, I'm seeing this, hey guys, we have eyes on this, and probably even telling you, hey, get out of there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
really what we're out there for is we're telling the National Weather Service what we're seeing out there. And at least our local area, they have a program where the actual National Weather Service teaches us how to look for this stuff. What's the storm development? How does that work? Really, just I don't want to call it. It's a little step beyond a basic, but it's enough to get you out there and to understand what you're doing.
Not only that, it's a great thing to understand what's going on with the weather because you'll be safer with your family. I mean, you know what are signs that you need to report in, but you also know the signs where you should be in the center area of your house as quick as possible because something can occur that will slip through the weather system, and you're a more responsible person in your family, I think, knowing this stuff, and it makes life more interesting. I look up the clouds and go, oh, that's that type of cloud. Oh, look, the front's occurring, you know?
Yep. And actually, what got me really started, I mean, when I was a kid, I was really interested in weather, but I found out all this math stuff that I don't really like. So I said, whatever. I didn't realize that there's this whole storm spotter thing. But really what got me started into more when I was older here is we were out camping, and there was a big storm going by. There was a chance, or there was some tornado warnings, some straight line wind chances. And I was looking at the sky. I kind of was trying to look at radar. I had no idea what I was doing and no idea what I was looking for. And I felt, what's the word? I'm not safe, not safe for not knowing what to do, I guess. So after that, when I heard about the Skywarn program, I went and took that right away. And then you could say a kind of version of obsession, learning how to read radar, and then kind of went into more. I kind of knew how to read radar, so now I went into predicting models and so on like that. But they do go through some basics of how to read radar. It's not big learning, everything that they know, but it's just enough so you can kind of say, okay, there's probably something in this area over here, and then you can head over there to do your spotting.
One of the things that people don't realize is they might go, well, isn't the weather already covering it? And what you need to understand is if radar is going up, it could be going up at an angle and miss snow or sleet happening down here. It cannot penetrate all levels simultaneous. We don't have every grid covered. So there are holes and weather's unpredictable. And that's where the spotters are in. They aren't trained just to call in, I see a raindrop. They go, if it meets this criteria, this is worthy of notification. It's also great because all of us have a commitment of people being safe. We don't encourage people, get out in the car, drive around and spot things, where safety comes first. So you're learning not just how to spot it, but how to notify it and call in. And I'd love if you'd mention, like, if hail's bigger than such and such, a water bigger than that, if you'd share some of those are criterias where you want to check in and what those levels are.
So the big ones is really any size hail. Because that gives them the different, sometimes it's just data that they want more so than if it's damaging. Obviously, if it's damaging hail, they want that more. Winds become difficult. They do want to know about strong winds, but most people don't have an anemometer or, that measures the wind speed.
Yeah.
So they don't want you to say, oh, I think it's 30 miles an hour. Well, you don't really know. But you can say, well, there's a 1-inch branch that broke that wasn't rotten. Well, that's something that they can start measuring against. So they like to know when there's branches down of various sizes and things like that. Tornadoes, obviously, funnel clouds. They don't want to know that sometimes they want to know if there's a wall cloud, but they don't necessarily care if it's a wall cloud because they want to know if it's spinning. Because
Right.
Spinning means potential of a tornado.
Right.
Beyond that, sometimes in winter, they want to know some basic information, but people don't chase winter weather
Right.
because it can be extremely dangerous, like we just had here this last weekend. Basically, they recommend no one travel, but please report your snow totals or if you're getting ice or something like that. But those are the big items. Basically, what comes down to anything that can potentially be, quote, severe or damaging, risking life, that kind of stuff. They're worried about things that, that can save lives. And that's really where I've taken that to. I created my own page. I focus in like a one county area around my county, and I share out information as I can because I want to make sure not only my coworkers and friends and family are safe, but anyone else who may be following the page.
Yeah. In our area, they might say, please report any hail dime size or greater. So sometimes we'll hear on the ham radio, though, give us the criteria, or more than 1 inch per hour rain, or have you checked put a ruler in the snow on your porch and how many inches since a time period. So they do,
Yep.
They want us and train us how to give accurate data. Mike, I think this would be a great thing for, I've always said, a small paper or town to train people to be accurate reporters, because I grew up in Washington, D.C., and I'm starved for accurate news, reporting what actually happened first and commentary secondary. And that's not to be any political statement. That's just, I just want to know what happened. And it's very hard to get it. But if you listen to Skywarn, those of us who have taken the class, and we'll put links below, maybe from your wiki, we'll put links below of where to learn more about it, but they teach you what is a criteria. This is something I need to report. What is the levels of this, and so forth. And I think that's an important aspect of this to understand. The other thing I want to go into is if someone goes, well, why the ham radio? Why not your cell phone? Why not something else? And I just want to say most of us who have ham radios at least understand ideas of batteries and maybe solar cells, because I can't tell you in emergencies how many times you'll get this phone going and that system will be locked up. And because the amateur radio is more of a simple and almost primitive system, it's more robust in a storm. And we just heard some stories of in Australia in the fire, offering help with ham radio to communicate, Puerto Rico in the earthquakes. Our stuff many times will work long after the infrastructure falls down.
Well, the other thing you got to remember is I don't know so much about East Coast, but in Minnesota, we have very rural areas where Verizon pretty much has everyone covered, but beyond that, there are a lot of the major carriers don't even have service in certain areas.
Right.
Your ham radio, you can maybe hit the repeater 50 miles away. You're still going to be able to get contact with someone. And if you can't hit one repeater, you can probably hit the other weather repeater that's 40 miles the other way, and still get it at least reported in. I did want to point out one thing, though. I have in our metro area, in the Twin Cities metro area, they have their own Skywarn program, and you have to take their class. They do extra training and so on. So if you're interested in it, you should probably look to see what's in your area first, because some ham radio groups will not let you just casually join. They require you to have their certification and so on.
I think that's a great thing. In there. What we'll do is we'll put general links that you recommend in the area below, but I like the idea. Reach out, look for a local ham radio club. I'm a member of RARS, which is the Raleigh area. There's JARS, which is another one in our area, and they're really good, often even have special classes for it and training, and they're great at directing people where you can get training. So look at that, then check out local. And then if you get on ham radio, find out which is the Skywarn. If there's a storm coming in, my wife knows I'm turning on the radio and listening, and it's amazing how many times I'll get more accurate data from the ham radio than I will the news, or I'll hear it on that, and then the news acts like it came through all their system. And nothing to diss the news, but I'm suspicious it might have come from Skywarn. So if any of you media people are out there listening, let me give you a hint for building rapport in your community. Embrace the Skywarn. Don't hide from it. Welcome these people, because they'll be loyal listeners of your news station as well. So that's a little tip that I recommend.
Well, the stations in my area, I think they usually say it's a storm spotter. They don't necessarily say it's Skywarn or amateur radio. They just say a storm spotter, so it's seen, blah, blah, blah. And that's, for me, I guess that's enough, because a lot of times what I've heard, at least in our area, is people will be more likely to believe it if someone has reported of seeing it.
Right.
Although on the other hand, if you get law enforcement out there, sometimes they don't know what they're looking for, and they report false tornadoes like we did this last year.
We'll give them some slack. It's a stressful job, right? As well. Excellent. Any other advice for someone who wants to learn more about Skywarn and storm spotters? I think it's a wonderful thing. I think learning about how nature affects our world just adds a richness to walking outside.
Well, I think your best place, if you go into Google and search Skywarn, I believe the first page that come up is from the National Weather Service on weather.gov. And that's usually a really great place to start, because usually I think that's kind of the landing place to find out where to learn more for your local area. The other thing I would do is ask your local clubs or other people maybe a local ARES, because I think that's kind of a branch of the ARES branch there. So that's a couple other revenues for you to ask, especially if you're in amateur radio, to kind of learn more about it. If you're not in amateur radio, I mean, you can still call the National Weather Service. There's still multiple ways you can report various weather and stuff. And you don't have to have an amateur radio. You can just have your cell phone and call. So it takes all different kinds.
They take emails. I think some areas even take Twitter. They take phone calls, all types of methods. The big thing is learning how to contribute useful information. So you're not just clogging their system without accurate information. Where are you? What's going on? What is verifiable in front of you, not just subjective, right?
Yep, and they even teach you exactly what a tornado is, because it could look like a tornado, but if there's no debris, it's not a tornado. A tornado is with debris. So, I mean, they teach you everything that you need to know, the tools that you need to get out there to start doing that. From there, hopefully you go out and start and keep learning more.
Fantastic. Well, this was excellent. We'll get some links you recommend, put them below as well. And Mike, I appreciate it tremendously. Thanks for also helping out with the group, learning and passing the ham radio exams that you're a moderator in with me.
Yep.
And we'll sign for now. This is Martin Brossman, KI4CFS, and
WX0 MIK, Mike.